Welcome back to the Talk Healing to Me podcast. I'm your host, Karen Dwyer, and today I have the absolute pleasure of sharing a story that so many will relate to. Sarah Cole is a powerhouse, a business owner, a partner, a daughter. She's a wife and she's a step grandmother and someone who knows what it's like to look fine on the outside, but maybe quietly falling apart on the inside. Now, when Sarah first joined the MS to Success programs, she was living life in high gear, but quietly managing fear and numbness, pain, perimenopause, and the deep emotional toll of wondering, what if this was as good as it gets? So, what unfolded from that point is nothing short of extraordinary. This is a story of reclaiming energy, breaking free from guilt, and choosing freedom over fear. One bubble, one breath, one breakthrough at a time. Let's dive in. Sarah, you're so welcome. How are you?
Thanks, Karen. I'm good. I'm good. How are you doing?
Brilliant, thank you. I was delighted to see when you accepted this invitation, so thank you, because I know that you're busy in the background. So I want to go back to the beginning. Take us back to what was young Sarah like? Give us a picture, like school, where did you start working? Give us a sense what early life was like for you.
This podcast is for educational purposes only and is not medical advice. Always consult your doctor. Views shared are personal and not a substitute for professional guidance.
Yeah. So I had a great childhood. My parents owned their own business. I went to a good school. I went to all girls school from 4 to 16 and then went to college, went to uni. And after I graduated, I knew I didn't want to go home because, I'd had a taste of independence. So it's like,
Oh, I
okay,
love it.
being an only
How
child,
far from home was college?
well, it was not too far, about 2-ish hours. Far enough. It was a couple of hours away. So yeah, there was a good distance. And I just wanted my independence, and to start earning and I went into a sales role. It was a telesales role that I just kind of fell into after university and it wasn't great. It was just kind of horrific kind of call center type environment. And I just rang up the agent who placed me there after I graduated. And I was like, "Is this what sales is like? Is this how it's meant to be?" And they said, "Oh no, not at all, not at all." And they were recruiting. So they said, "Why don't you come through and meet us for an interview?" So that's what I did. So I just really fell into recruitment, which a lot of people do. And yeah, I was specialized in technical engineering recruitment, and I have done that ever since, and I love it. Yeah, it's my
Wow.
passion. It's how I met my husband through work. Lots of good friends, obviously. So yeah, that was a
Amazing.
very quick run through, but
I love it. It was like bam, bam, bam. There we go. Oh, Sarah, that's
yeah,
brilliant. I love that. A lot of people like I changed careers so often because I didn't really know what I wanted to do, and you were like really confident in this is what I want to do, and you've stuck with it, which is
yeah.
phenomenal.
I think I knew that, I could kind of get on well with people, and obviously now I know that as being a strong influencer. So and I recognized that, I thought, right, what do I want to do? I knew I wanted to earn good money, and that whole commission piece always appealed to me because you're not capped. You just keep going and going and going. So
Yeah,
yeah, so
I
that's
love
where I
that.
found myself, and that's where I stayed. I mean, I worked for a couple of businesses and then obviously run a smaller agency piece now, because we relocated up to North Links. And yeah, I just really enjoy it. It's my passion.
Oh, I love that. I love that. Thanks for sharing that with us. And obviously you're on this podcast because you're in the MS to Success programs. Why don't you tell
Right.
us a little bit about what was it like before you were diagnosed? Give us the rundown of when you got diagnosed. What kind of symptoms were you dealing with and how did you feel?
Yeah, so I class myself as being quite fortunate, to be honest, or blessed, whichever way you want to look at it, because I do know, excuse me, and I've spoken to people who have gone years without a diagnosis and suffering some of the horrible symptoms. But for me, if I look back retrospectively, in my mid-20s, I started with things like adult acne, which I'd never had before. It wasn't in my genes. I hadn't had problematic skin when I was younger. And then I started having digestive issues. My enzymes were damaged. I couldn't tolerate certain foods and all these intolerances, all these tests, lost an enormous amount of weight. So for me, knowing now what I know, that was the beginning of my body saying, "Hey, Sarah, something's not right here." But obviously, at that stage, I didn't recognise it. I
Mm.
went to the doctors and got some hideous cream for my adult acne that contained stuff now that you just wouldn't want to go anywhere near. So blindly kind of carried on. And then it was just February, March time, and I woke up. We'd gone away for the weekend. We'd gone to visit my parents and my aunt, and I woke up one morning and thought, "Oh gosh, my feet feel a little bit numb," and just ignored it. Carried on, did the weekend, and throughout the weekend and into the following week, this numbness kind of spread throughout my body. And bizarrely, it was the following Wednesday. So it wasn't until the following Wednesday, and it wasn't until it got to my face I thought, "This is really not something is seriously wrong." So obviously went to the GP, was fortunate to get in and had a very good GP who insisted the hospital admitted me and they put me on steroids and I stayed in hospital for about, I think it was 5 days. Um, and was sent away basically saying, "We think it's a virus, let us know if there's any changes, dramatic changes in your body or something feels a little bit different." Well, Karen, everything felt different. Do you know what I mean? It was just, I didn't feel like me at all. And my brain, I just knew it's not that I struggled to talk, but the articulation of words, something was wrong. But I went home and then, yeah, was on the sofa. I was off work for about 6 weeks in total, to be honest. I literally had absolute fatigue and, you know, kind of got up, had a shower, and then had to go back to bed and sleep and would sleep for hours. And then one day I woke up and my hand felt particularly numb. Um, so I just rang up the hospital and finally get through to somebody. And they said to me, "Well, can you move it?" I said, "Oh, yes, it's not paralyzed. I can still move it." "Oh, well, it'll be okay." And it's at that point that I said to my husband, Bobby, I was like, "This isn't okay. I'm not comfortable with this. I want to take some action and I need to know what's going on in my body." Um, so I was fortunate that I had private health through work, so I went that route. And obviously, we're all like secret Googlers, aren't we? You go, "Why? What is this?" And so I found a neurologist and someone who specialized in MS. And I thought, "Oh, it sounds a little bit like it could be this." And yeah, got in front of him and then was diagnosed 2 weeks later, which is, well, he told me there and then, he was like, "There's an 85% chance it's MS, not this virus that the hospital said."
Mhm.
So for me, I was diagnosed mid-May and I had my relapse in March. So that's so quick. And so I was so blessed. And so then by, I think it was about 2.5 months later, I was on Ocrevus, which I take once every 6 months to have an infusion. So that
Yeah.
that was kind of what happened for me with MS, which is relatively mild, really, to what an awful lot of people go through for many, many years. So that's why I said initially I do feel blessed, which is people say to me, "Really? You've got MS?" Like, no, no, I do feel blessed. It could have been far worse. So
Yeah.
yeah,
It's
so that
it's
was my
it's
route.
incredible. Oh, sorry, Sarah.
It's okay. It's okay.
You were saying, sorry, that was your diagnosis?
Yeah, that was my route to diagnosis. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you know, interestingly, at the beginning, that first call, and I went back and looked at, the chat that we had, I was saying to you before the podcast started, um, and looked at the conversation, what we were discussing. And it really took me all the way back to, how you were feeling emotionally and what you were dealing back then. Why don't you take us back, physically, emotionally? What was life like then, just before you joined? Because obviously you'd been diagnosed a little while before you found MS to success. What was it like? Because obviously you had the diagnosis, you got on your medication, you moved through that for a little while. What kind of things were still there? And obviously some things may improved, or did things get worse from there? Give us a little sense of that and what it was like before you came into us.
Yeah, I mean, for me, um, initially, it was really being told, but there was nothing I could do except take high dose vitamin D. And I think for anybody, that's pretty devastating to hear, but that really affected me because of, the kind of person I am. I was like, "What?" And, no, don't worry, you won't it'll take several years, i.e. 20, 25 years before you're in a wheelchair. And to hear things like that from doctors and consultants, and I remember I shared that with you, Karen, and I remember you saying, "God, that makes my blood boil," that somebody actually said that to you. But they did, so that was the reality, and I've been diagnosed, it'll be 8 years coming up, so it is a while ago, and, things have changed with my consultant since then, but a lot of that is because of what I've shared with him through what I've learned with you, but so how did I feel? I felt hopeless, desolate, and very, very frightened, and I would do my best to put it in a box, tie it up, put a little ribbon on it, but it was there all the time, and to feel that absolute dread. Okay, yes, things are balanced now, but what's gonna happen? What if? Am I gonna be able to do what I want to do, what I've planned to do? Am I my work side of things, my family side of things, am I gonna be able to support my grandsons, my parents as they go into all of that stuff constantly in your head, you know, and it was very negative, and that was a hideous time, and I think it just built, to be honest with you, because another thing they told me it was like a specialist nurse, and she said to me, "Oh, don't worry," she said, "with the drug that you're on," said, "it's a modern drug and it's the best, and, we have had people who haven't relapsed for 5 years." So in my brain, I've got this clock going, and I'm getting closer and closer to 5 years, and it's like, "Oh my goodness." So there was all of that going on. I wouldn't say that I was depressed with it. For me, it was more anxiety, fear, dread, and what can I do? So I went on the internet and, started looking at stuff, and crikey, there's so much stuff out there, isn't it, that's complete baloney and, so confusing as well, mixed messaging, where on earth do you go? And I found a group because I was very adverse to joining a group because I didn't want to hear the realities of what some people are having to navigate and live with day in and day out. Because I
Mm.
just thought that isn't going to work for me at all. So in my brain at the time, and I wouldn't use this language now, learning what I've learned from you, Karen, but I felt I'm just going to be selfish and just, keep on my track. Didn't want to tell anybody because I thought if I tell them, particularly with work, they'll think less of me. Is she going to be capable? All of that stuff that you're carrying around while still performing. And it, actually, it wasn't until you and I had one of our one-to-one sessions and you guided, oh, you were coaching me through, but I was reflecting and I've had my best business years since I've had MS, you know, my highest sales, my best performance, just like knocked it out of the park. And you look at that and think, right, okay, why did that happen? How did that happen? And so you start to then turn this around and bring this positivity. But no, I was fearful um, of what was going to happen. Very, very frightened, and every little twitch or numbness, to be like, oh my goodness, what's going on in my body? So I found a group of people, and a part of that, Karen, included a very, very strict eating regime, parasite cleansing, purging, enemas, honestly, all of that malarkey, which, you know, I now know is not the right route, but I did that for about 3.5 years. And that just added to the pressure I was putting on myself. All of this strictness, all of these restrictions. I wasn't enjoying my life. And I remember when I first spoke to you, I was so unbalanced in regard, all I did was work because energy-wise, that's all that I could do. And I had nothing else in my life, which, looking at that now, that did make me sad. And it's terribly sad, isn't it? Because that's not what life's about. So, yeah, I think those would be the main points, Karen, that I'd pull out, around how I was feeling and even going down that extreme route. And it wasn't good for my body. Again, I just looked like a skeleton, not
Yeah.
healthy.
I know, and you brought up such great points. And thanks for really being open. It's definitely one of the things that we hear an awful lot at the beginning. I joined a group, and it's like, oh, and I get that, like the MS to Success program is a group program, so it's like, so I get the irony in what I'm about to say, but a lot of times they're very, very strict. And people come to us and look, it. People then feel you mentioned actually on our call, I made a note. You said that you felt like a 4 out of 10 in terms of how happy you were with your health right then. And that's not okay. Brilliant that you're able to do that with work. But if work is getting all of your energy and then you're wiped and have energy for nothing else, I mean, that only lasts so long before you burn out, right?
And that's how it felt, and I know I was very emotional as when I was talking to you. I remember that because it was almost like a release of everything that I'd been carrying, because although I am very fortunate, my husband is great and he has there is that support piece there, but doesn't really know what it's like, bless him, and it would be impossible for him to fully, understand that and realize really. But it was a little bit of a like, right, let's open the floodgates and get it all out and everything that I'd been carrying. So I felt lighter after, our initial consultation, which was early days. I mean, what, it's about 18 months ago-ish? Oh, a year. It's a
Yeah.
year, isn't it? Yeah, it's
Yeah.
a year ago, just over a year. Um, and yeah, just to know that there was the support from yourself. And the other big piece, which I got very early doors, which was nowhere near my mind, was I can heal my body. Now, at first, when I joined, I was like, really? I wasn't bought in because, you think, really? But then you learn, you meet more people in the group, you hear true stories of people who were far more affected physically by MS in regards to from a disability perspective. Um, and they're out of chairs. They're walking independently. Oh, I don't need my cane anymore to walk. And even now saying it, I'm feeling that rush of, the absolute beauty of that and the power of it. And you can't see, but on my work, this is my home office, on my wall here, one of the first things that Federico taught me, I am healing. And it's
Mhm.
there all the time. So I look at it every day. I'm here. I've got one at work. There's some nice little tools, but I know it. I know I'm healing because I'm so much, I don't want to say better, it's the wrong word, but I'm so much happier. My symptoms are so minimalized, my life is so much fuller. Um, so
Love that.
yeah, that was the big piece for me when I first joined you, Karen. It's like, okay, actually, yeah, you can affect this, Sarah. You can do things, and you don't have to live to these extremes that I had been doing. They didn't have anywhere near the same impact, I have to say, looking back.
It's phenomenal, and most people think, and it's easy. I always feel weird when and I shouldn't, but I always feel weird almost when I talk about the program because I think it's easy to come across like an asshole and be like, "Oh, it's great," because I'm kind of attached to it because it's my company, but then I also need to detach from it because so of course there's so much skepticism out there, and I get it, especially when people have spent. I have people that have been to the Mayo Clinic and all of these other and gone and gotten stem
Yeah.
cell, and they haven't gotten the kind of results that they've gotten from here, and that's easy for me to say because I own the company, and obviously we have a whole massive team. It's not me that does everything, and we've all of our practitioners, like our clinical hypnotherapist, a neurologist, a sleep doctor. We've all these people in there, but it's easy for me to say, but when I hear it coming from your mouth, it it's so much more validating. So I really appreciate you saying that because again, it'd be very easy to be skeptical of somebody going, "Oh yeah, well that sounds snake oil." And obviously there's people who show up and do the work, Sarah, like you. But if somebody comes in and doesn't do the work, they're also not going to get the results. And
Exactly.
it is not about go hard or go home. If anything, Sarah, and you can tell me whether I'm right or wrong, it's actually about doing less and doing the right things really well. Would that be a
No,
fair statement?
totally. Yeah, without a doubt. It's having that awareness, giving yourself a break, just recognizing. I never used to listen to my body. You've taught me, listen to your body and it tells you, recognize it, take the breaks. You just work through from like 7:30 in the morning, suddenly it's 6 o'clock at night. Well, it's no wonder you're fatigued. I mean,
Yeah,
what are
it
you
would
doing
be.
to yourself? Yeah, so,
Yeah.
now I have my works phone here, I've got my little alarm on, and it's only like somebody going out and having, back in the old days, oh, they'll go and have a break outside. I go, maybe take a little bit of exercise or just go downstairs, make a brew, have a natter, whatever it may be. Um, so yeah, just little things like that. It's definitely around awareness, not being so hard on yourself all the time. I think naturally we do that, don't we? And we're judging ourselves, we're critiquing ourselves. And the other piece is, particularly for someone like me, I think I don't know whether I'd say I'm a big people pleaser, but I like to influence people in the right way. And so that is really in like my very, very course is just learning actually, you don't always need to take that approach, you know. You can
Mhm.
be true to yourself and be confident in being true to yourself. Say what you're really feeling, which that wasn't what I was doing, It was all for others and yeah. So that's a
I'll
big piece that I've learned as well.
Yeah, and it's a huge piece, Sarah, because we've had lifetime patterns, whether we call it people pleasing or maybe boundaryless, or
Yes.
there's so many different way. And it's not that you want to pigeonhole or put everybody into a box, but a lot of the time, when you want to have everything right or do things the right way, we can
That's
tend
it.
to put ourselves at risk of not having ourselves looked after.
Yeah.
Can I go back for a second to the group thing?
Okay.
Because I think it's a really important thing that you've brought up because there's a lot of, for example, Facebook groups on there and they can be and they're all set up with the greatest of intentions. Like they really are for people to connect and relate to each other and all the rest. But a lot of the time, especially those free groups, can be cesspits of fear and horror stories and complaints and all that. And I get, and I'm not, is it devalidating, invalidating? That's the correct English, Karen. I don't want to invalidate anybody going and sharing what they're fearful about. However, if you are looking to improve and you want to be proactive in doing that, that can be something that can make you feel stuck. What is it that stood out that was different? Because obviously you've tried a lot of things before. What was it that was different or stood out? Because obviously you're still going to have some skepticism before you join the program anyway. What was different or what was it? And
Yeah, no,
maybe it was something bad or good. Who knows?
no, no, that is a really good question, and it's a combination of pieces. So I'd read about you prior to finding your piece on Facebook. I can't remember. It was a press piece, but I'd read about you. So your name was in my brain, and then I saw you, and I left it. Didn't action straight away. And then whether you believe in fate or not, I don't know, but the energy it came back, and I saw it again, and I thought I'm going to reach out, because of how where I was at, and I knew I needed to do something different. I just didn't know where to go, what to do, and what was different for me, Karen, was really you assessed me. Uh, we had a meeting or an interview, to use my language, and you very clearly
Mhm.
said to me, Sarah, we do not accept everybody because this isn't right for everybody. And you gave me an overview of what was involved, but not in detail. There wasn't, a real substance to that. It was just this would be a piece where, you will need to be dedicated. Otherwise, it is not worth doing it. And I felt that through our conversation, you were assessing me and thinking, right, is this ready for her? Is she ready for this? Is it the right time for her to do this? Is she gonna I suppose, maximize the benefit of doing this type of piece because, you do have to dedicate time and focus and be committed to it. So that was the difference. It was like I was being screened. And,
You were.
that added real value. Yeah, you were screening me, exactly. So, that added, like, real value to it because I thought, well, if this was just a money-making scheme, and I don't mean that disrespectfully, but, if it
Yeah.
was, then there wouldn't be any of this. It'd just be, "Yeah, this is what we're doing. Send your money through." So there was none of that there at all. It was very clean in that regard and ethical in that regard. But yeah, that was the big difference. And also, what you were talking to me about, the insights you were giving me, I thought, yeah, that sounds like something that's more balanced. And that's really what I needed.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks for saying that. Yeah, because you never look, again, we probably accept about 30% of people that we speak to
Mhm.
into the program because like you say, it's not for everyone. And it does
Mhm.
require, dedication. If I was
Mm.
to ask you how many minutes a day would you say you need to commit to this program? Because I have a number in my head, but maybe it might be different. And you're in the program quite a long time. You're in our phase 2 now, but what if I was to say, actually, I'm not going to say anything. How many minutes per day would
Mhm.
you say the program takes?
Okay, so I would say your minimum per day, minimum is an hour.
Okay.
However, if I'm thinking about an ideal, then it's going to be more like two, 2.5
Okay.
for me.
Oh,
Because,
wow.
yeah, to be honest, I mean, there's things that I do every day religiously,
Mhm.
and then there's some add-on pieces. So, unfortunately, because I work, I can't always do the classes live. And I love doing them live. And actually, when I first started, that was a part I was dreading because I didn't want to see, the
Yeah.
and of course, the negativity isn't there at all. It is, we never really talk about MS, do we, in that regard? It's just very positive learning and support. And, the ladies in our group, I am so incredibly grateful to them. We really support each other and you get so much from that. So yeah, if you want to do a class, a live class, then obviously normally that's an hour. And then for me, my non-negotiables are the meditation. I try and do two a day. Well, I say try, I do two a day. Only a short one in the morning. I do my exercises, my vibration exercises, which for me, I'll do 20 minutes in the morning, 25 minutes at night. And then I've got my gratitudes, which
Amazing.
sometimes they come like that, other times, you take a little bit longer. So that's why I say
Yeah.
an hour, because it's kind of an hour doing the minimal if you don't do a
Yeah.
class.
I love it. I love
So
it. I
not a
love it.
lot of
Thank you for
time,
answering that.
really. Not a
Yeah.
lot of time.
For the kind of results that you're getting, definitely not. Definitely not.
And
Um,
obviously, the more you do it, the more results come. And then for me, I had more energy, so then I had more time, if that makes sense.
it does. It does. It does.
Mhm.
You mentioned you've tried strict diets and anti-parasitic protocols before. What were you hoping would be different about a personalized approach, or because that is one of the things that people tend to do because it's either people get diagnosed and they go, okay, I must exercise like crazy or go really hard, or I must do a really strict diet. What was your experience of that, and how would you say this is different?
This episode of Talk Healing to Me is sponsored by Clean Boss, created by Joy Mangano, the legendary inventor behind the Miracle Mop and a pioneer in clean innovation. Clean Boss is a botanical disinfectant that kills 99.9% of viruses, germs, and bacteria. It's safe for food surfaces, soft surfaces, and baby high chairs with no toxic ingredients and no rinse required. It's also a degreaser, odor eliminator, and all-purpose cleaner that works as hard as the chemical heavy stuff without the health risks. Check it out at getcleanboss.com/Karen for a clean, better, and living safer life.
I know I didn't do the exercise piece because I didn't have the energy to do that. But on the diet and restriction piece, it to me that sucked more out of me. My body wasn't getting what it needed. It wasn't being fed in the right way. And I mean, I'm 5'7", and I went down to under 7 stone at one stage. So you can
Oh
imagine
my
what I
God,
looked
Sarah.
like. Yeah. Um, but I thought I was doing the right thing. And I wouldn't listen to anybody because I'd set my mind to it and I was doing it. But yeah, so the difference in the personalized approach, it sounds obvious, but it is the time spent with you or one of your team around, right, where are you at? What are your goals? We talk all about our personal goals, and I've got my folder here, my bottom drawer, revisit that and think, wow, look how far I've come. So it's bespoke. And the other piece on the parasitic cleansing, it felt very harsh on your body. And it's like, why am I doing this to my body? Nothing we do is harsh. Everything is supportive. Everything. I've learned a calmness through the one-on-one because I think you are incredibly astute and have a capability to write, yes, this is what this person's telling me, this is what I'm hearing, this is what I'm seeing. There's always what people don't say, isn't it? And I was hiding stuff from myself, and we have done some coaching, and I remember one in particular, Karen, and I just broke down because we'd uncovered what my issue was. And it took a little bit of time, didn't it? It did take quite some time. And I wasn't purposefully not recognizing it. I just didn't know. And you got me to that point. You don't get that with somebody who is doing, a course or a program. You only get that when people spend that one-on-one time with you. And really, it sounds a little cheesy, but they get to know you, they get to read you, they get to understand you and know, okay, let's take this approach. This let me kind of guide you. But again, you have to be the driver. This isn't the kind of program where, I mean, all the info's given, but you're not spoon fed. So you've got to be of a mindset to, I'm gonna do this for me. And it's easier once you start to see results. And the biggest piece was my energy initially, wasn't
Mm.
it, Karen? I mean,
Yeah.
I was as flat as a pancake, and then, the exercises that we do were just amazing and impacted me very quickly. I know it can take, again, it's an individual piece. Everybody's MS is different. Everyone's a different person, so it takes, different stages for different people, but that was an immediate win for me. I'll never forget it. And I could go out on a weekend. Hadn't done
You
that for
mentioned about
years.
walking Burton Constable and getting back, and you still had energy. I remember that and seeing your lovely pictures all the time in the group.
Still had energy. And thinking of doing that 2 years ago, I wouldn't have been able to go out of the house because just didn't have the energy to do anything, other
Yeah.
than this work piece, which, oh God. So I'm
I
not
remember
sure if I've answered that because I've kind of gone round the houses, but it is linked to that individualism and obviously the knowledge that you and all your team have got. I mean, you've been there, you've done it, You give us
well, it
give us this
born
tool and the strategies, then we have to crack on with it?
born out of pure frustration, Sarah, because I
Mm.
didn't. I couldn't find support that was meaningful or made sense for my body. Most of them were designed by well, I won't go down that road. There's a lot of great programs out there, there really are, but there was none for a person like me who was busy and a mum, and I had a lot of self-sabotage patterns,
Yes.
and it's like I'd start something and I wouldn't be able to do it, and then I felt a lot of guilt and shame because I didn't succeed, and then that kept me smaller.
Mm.
But anyway, so it's born out of pure frustration, and laziness on
Mhm.
my part. I wanted the quick way. Don't give me the I have to do crazy things or be really strict because I'm not going to stick to it. So I had to find a way that
No.
acknowledged the body, honored the human being, allowed you to have a life, and you didn't have to live like Gwyneth Paltrow, you know? It's
Yeah,
like you want to be able to have a life and
exactly.
have fun and all the rest. Let's talk about some of that because you've made some real changes. One of the things that really struck me in our initial conversation, Sarah, was you said that you wanted to be able to have the energy to visit your parents. Maybe you said, because like have the energy to do it at the weekend, but and then you said, like, you go, if I was able to do it like of an evening after work, that would be incredible. And I remember you nearly getting upset because you were like, there's no way I'm going to be able to do that.
Yes. Yeah.
Talk to us a little bit about what that looks like now.
Yeah. Well, I can do it. I mean, I do. I mean, I'll go to site. So not just working from home, which for me obviously is an easier day working from home.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, I can go to site. I can do a full day on site and all that interaction, which normally, my battery would be kind of way down. But no, I can call in, and my parents are in their 80s, and I'm an only child, and they moved up here to be with me. So you had all that guilt associated. Oh, but yeah, am I spending the time with them? And I wanted to, it wasn't a case of not wanting to. It was a case of not being able to. And that's why I was quite emotional about it. But now I can do. I mean, it's brilliant, and yeah, that's real makes me real happy, it's real uplifting, and that's kinda nailed, which is beautiful, and in fact, was it last week or the week before? No, it was the week before, I put a message on our group because not only was I going to site for a full day, but then I was going out afterwards for dinner with a client, which, would be something that I would, because I think I have to communication-wise, be tip-top, my brain's got to be on it, and it wasn't a late night because it was just tea, but, I got in about 9:30. Wouldn't have
Look
been
at
able to do that
you.
2 years ago. So
So
big
good, Sarah.
changes,
So
big changes.
huge.
And that
You
gives me so
you
much more confidence, Karen. That's something we've not talked about.
Yeah.
I think that
Yeah.
I've grown a lot in that area, and I have the mindset now of if I want to do it, I will. So I'm going to talk about travel because that's something that I haven't traveled. Yeah, I haven't traveled, and I didn't want to travel. I was very frightened about going through that whole airport piece, and then holiday and coming back and being away and out of the country and what's happened and all of that wahala. And really, it's the ladies in our group that got me on an aeroplane. Not just on an aeroplane, but on my own on an aeroplane. So I travelled solo. It was only a short trip, and I went and did what I needed to do on the trip. It wasn't a holiday, it was for business. And initially, I'd said no to that. I said, "No, I can't do that," because I don't know what I said, I made something up. I can't do. But then there were two ladies in particular who were off for holidays, flying here, there, and everywhere. I'm like, "If they can do it, I can do it." It wasn't an envy or anything like that at all. Nowhere near that. It was like inspiring me. Well, of course I can do this. And so I just talked it through with my hubby. Said, "Yeah, I can do this." And I booked assistant. I didn't need it. It was just fabulous. So this program has allowed me to grow and be confident. I would never previously to having MS think, "Oh, I can't do that." MS made me say, "I can't do that. No, I can't. I'll just be safe." I didn't want to be compromised or exposed or vulnerable. Whereas now, confidence-wise, it's like, if I want to do it, I'm going to do it. Okay,
Amazing.
it might be slightly different. However, I'm going to do it. And it's our ladies that have given me that, to be honest, Karen, because
I
they're
know.
so inspiring, aren't they? They
And you know
really
what, I
are.
think that is the thing about the group because I remember you being scared of the group. And of course,
Mm,
because nobody wants to see people further along than them and think, is that where I'm
exactly.
going? And
That
let's be
was it.
really honest. No, nobody does because that's scary. But when you see people who are not only fulfilling on the goals that you have as well, but they're a few steps ahead in that positive progress. And you look at Una flying to Australia by yourself and back. And then
Amazing.
I
Yes.
mean, it's phenomenal. So
Yeah.
you do get inspired by other people who are further ahead of you, and
Mm,
that's where the gold is, Sarah, because it's
yeah.
very easy for me to say, "Look, we've seen that before," but when you see people in real life, it's not like written on a poster or on a written. There are people
Yes.
in dealing with
Yeah.
real life, busy lives and making it happen anyway, and that's the goal. It
Yeah.
really is. Yeah.
Yeah.
You mentioned one thing
Absolutely.
earlier on in the call, in the very first one, around leg numbness, and tingling, and some
Pain.
pain as well. Talk to us a
Mm.
little bit about that. What was it like back then before you joined?
Okay, so my left side was my worst side. And I had numbness all through my hand, up my arm, and across to here regularly. I mean, it was just kind of there all the time. And in my leg, often I would lose feeling in toes and I could still move them, Karen. It wasn't that situation. And all up my foot, my leg, up to probably top of my thigh. And then a little bit of that also on the right hand side. And then pain wise, I'd get nerve pain, which is horrible, isn't it? Pretty nasty. And sometimes I call them the big shooting nerve pains. I don't know the terminology, but it would literally go right up and through my body, which is the kind of pain that unfortunately makes you cry. It's pretty severe, nasty pain. So that's what it was like.
And
And pretty quickly, oh, sorry, you were going to ask me
oh no, I
something.
was just going to say, do you still get that?
I can't remember the last time I had any nerve pain. It's a good few months ago because I think on a Friday wind up, I announced it. So I haven't had any pain for a week, and obviously, it built. So I don't have any nerve pain. In regards to numbness, it is almost gone. I say almost because now, obviously, having been on the program, I recognize how levels of stress can actually affect some of your symptoms. So I would be lying if I said it's totally gone, but I have weeks where it is totally gone, which is amazing. I
So
mean,
good.
this week with work has been one of those weeks. I just have a tiny little bit just in the end of these three fingers, but I can feel it. It's not just a tiny little bit. Gosh, by comparison, I mean, amazing, absolutely amazing.
That's
So, yeah,
phenomenal.
it
Phenomenal.
works.
Yeah. You've mentioned work a couple of times, and it's obviously a big part of your life, and it's really important, and for so many reasons. It back in the beginning, and sorry to acknowledge. Let me, Aoife will delete that bit that I just said. That is phenomenal that you've gotten rid of that pain. And most people would maybe find that hard to believe. They would, because
Mm,
it's like, and it really is stepping into that commitment to yourself. And it isn't just one thing. And I know we have our movement plan, but it's around the mindset, and it's around the food, and around the confidence and the trust in yourself. But you mentioned in work, you found that pressure often crept in, around work, or not feeling enough. What has helped you rewrite that story for yourself, would you say?
okay. So, there's quite a lot of elements that feed into that, to be honest with you. Starting
Yeah.
from like the moment I wake up and we have our golden hour. So that means don't grab your phone as soon as you wake up. So my phone is no longer in my bedroom. I bought myself one of these wee little alarm things that I don't use it that often, to be honest, Karen, but it's there just as a backup if needed. And yes, it's from that first kind of moment of wakening, and I'll meditate, and then I'll have my water. I'll get up, do my exercises, shower, eat a good breakfast that for me is either high protein or kind of moderate protein with like berries. It just depends. Mix it up a bit. Um, and then reframing, you know, and we learnt so much with Federico in regards to what's going on upstairs and how that really impacts your body so significantly. Um, you've taught me the bubble technique, which I use all the time. You know, It's my protection bubble. And I just go like this with my finger and it comes round me and I allow what I want to penetrate that bubble and it keeps the wahala away. So
Love
there's
that.
several other techniques as well that we've learned that I've adopted practice because it takes a bit of practice. And good grief, it's by no means perfect, but it's improved considerably. Um, but for me, cultures at work, I think reframing has really helped me. And to know that um, it's how I react that's the important part. I'm never going to be able to completely control others, however much I may have tried. Through influencing and all of that good stuff, nothing negative, but, ultimately, they're gonna do what they want to do, and it's not in my control, but what is in my control is how I choose to react to it, and it is a choice, so it's that split second, isn't it? Just taking a second or two, stand, evaluate it, "Okay, this is how I choose to react to that," and you've helped me massively with that in my one-to-ones. Federico's teachings, a lot of it is around, managing that pace.
Mm,
So yeah, I think that's helped me considerably dealing
brilliant.
with
Because
that
it
pressure.
is that stress management and the physiological response in the body. You know, we can talk about food and exercise until the cows come home, and you can follow everything to the letter. But if your nervous system
I know.
is, going crazy inside, inflammation is never going to have a chance to decrease and actually let your
Yeah,
body go into that rest and digest state. So it's such a brilliant point that you've brought up because we can overlook that. And unfortunately, well, maybe these things will start to change now, but that's not taught in schools.
yeah.
Also, our
No,
parents didn't have that teaching either, so they haven't been able, and some parents do. I see some parents are maybe a little bit better at it than ours, but most of the time we're all just trying to survive and get through the
just
days and the
yeah,
weeks and keep each other afloat. Like,
and do our best. Yeah.
it there is so much. There is a lot. It is the most comprehensive chronic illness program in the world, I would say. And obviously that's easy for me to say, but there is a lot to it. And it
Mm.
maybe, and like we said, it isn't for everyone. Um, but it's simple, but it's not easy to just
No.
continue to participate because you have to show up, like you said. What would you say to someone who's where you were, a year ago, maybe trying everything, exhausted and skeptical, but still hoping something could work?
In regards to really looking to them, looking at themselves insofar as, you know, what are you looking to achieve? And I know that sounds very basic. We want to be well, we want to be healthy, and seeking out in the right way, a support group that's full of learning, that's going to enable you to get to where you want to be. I would first of all say to them that you can heal. And even though I was like, oh, okay, initially on the program, you can. I know that it's proven. I would have lots of examples that I could give them of people that we've seen and know that have worked. And I would tell them to talk with you because it might not be the right time for everybody. It has to be, they have to be able to give the dedication to doing the program. But I would say reach out to Karen, talk to her, find out a little bit more about what this is about, um, and allow them to do that. And then obviously feedback to them. And then I will just be an absolute advocate. Because for me, it's changed my life. And I know that's the case for everybody else, who's in our group. It really
Oh.
is life changing.
But I think the thing that, and I think, that sentence is that you can heal. That's so powerful, Sarah, because a lot of times people have maybe lost that um light, that it's like so many things have been tried and maybe they're just, feeling like nothing else is going to work. So it's very inspiring hearing that you've been able to get the results and be able to pass that on. That's brilliant. Um, if you could, uh, if you could go back to your day one self when you were starting the program and give yourself a message, what would you say to yourself?
Keep an open mind.
Yeah.
I'm quite black and white on things and factual and evidence-based, and some of the stuff we do, yeah, it's
Yeah.
true, isn't it? You know?
There's a little
So
bit of woo woo. Yeah.
there's a little, but it's woo-woo that works. So yeah, keep an open mind and just be very receptive to other people with MS. You know, I was just very uncomfortable in joining those group pieces, and you encouraged me, and obviously now I look at that and think, gosh, you were so stupid. You know, I just didn't have the I know I shouldn't be saying that, but you know,
Don't say
when I
that.
look back now, that would have been if I'd have joined and not joined our live groups, I would have missed out on so much stuff.
Mhm.
So much.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, those would be
So
my 2
smart.
points.
Well, we're so glad that you have and that you show up. I love when you come on and seeing your lovely smiley face and your lovely curls. We're going to move on to our quick fire round. Are you ready for
Okay,
10 quick fire questions? Okay.
I'm
The
ready.
first question. Yes, let's do it. If you followed your childhood dream, what would you be doing now?
Journalism.
Oh, nice. Oh, you'd
Mm,
make a good journalist. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Okay. What advice would you give to your younger self?
that's a good one. Have confidence in your ability. Have confidence in who you are, because you're special.
Oh,
There
I
is no
love
one
that.
else like you. Yeah, and know that.
I'm saying that to young Sarah right now. Who inspires you the most?
My father,
Oh, oh, I love that. I love
yeah.
that.
Even now, I mean, my dad has memory issues, and he's amazing and very successful, but also loving man, good family man. Pretty special. Yeah,
I love
and I'm
that.
very like him
Yeah. I know. I've heard you talking
in
about your dad a lot. I want to meet your dad. He sounds
yeah.
brilliant.
Oh, he'd love that, Karen. Oh my goodness, he would adore that. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's just even though he's, you know, fighting and dealing with what he's dealing with at the moment, socially he's amazing still. Everybody loves him, you know, and he loves that interaction, that social interaction. He gets so much from that. So yeah, my father inspires
Oh, that's a beautiful answer. The next question is, was there a particularly dark day that turned into a positive and what was the lesson?
so yes, there was a dark day. And it was actually fairly soon after my diagnosis, to be honest. And also my mum was abroad and had quite a serious accident. And Bobby had gone they were flying her back into the country with my dad on this jet, and Bobby had gone to meet them at Manchester Airport, and obviously we live North Lincolnshire, so he travelled, so I was on my own. And so I just decided to walk, and I just found myself at our village church. And a guy called John Cherry came up to me and said, "You can come in, you know." And I was like, I'd been brought up around the church, but I've never been particularly religious. And I, yeah, decided to go in. And I met the most amazing group of people who, you know, didn't judge and just showed me so much warmth. And on that day was a bad day for me mentally because I wasn't where I needed to be, and I couldn't be there for my mum because of my MS, and my parents didn't know about my MS, and it was just all hideousness. Um, and so I'm not saying I found God, Karen, because that's not true, but I found something.
Hmm.
I found something in regards to a calmness and ability to feel some support and balance. And I am going to share this because I prayed in church for God to show me some direction because I just felt so helpless. And I walked back to our home and I just went on my mobile phone and I went to Facebook, and that was the second time I saw your ad.
Oh, wow.
I know.
Wow.
I know. And to me, whether it's God or another, that it was showing me the way. It was showing me the way and what to do. So that's, I think that, yeah, that's the example I would use.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that. And I think I think as I don't know if it's a getting older thing, but I feel like I didn't I used to sing in choir when I was younger and in church on a
That's
Saturday. And I think I
lovely.
loved the singing and
Mm,
and I was definitely I would class myself maybe spiritual more than religious because I don't know why, but religion kind of brings up then I think about wars and things like that. So I tend to stay away from it a
yes.
little bit. But there's something and even Noel's parents are very religious and
Mm,
his dad goes to mass every single morning. But there's something in me that I think I was saying this on one of our Friday wind up calls, which is the call we have on a
mm,
Friday where we all get together and go through some stuff. But I find myself moving back more towards God
yeah.
recently. And I don't know if it's a getting older thing or just maybe I'm giving myself that time to reflect. But that's really beautiful. But interesting when you say you opened up and you saw, something about us on there. We've had people. So on the calls, you had the first initial call, and I'll say, where did you find us? I've had two, maybe three people say a psychic sent me to you.
Wow. Oh
Isn't that
my
wild?
goodness, that's made me go all goosebumpy.
Yeah. And
Wow.
I don't know them. This was in one was in the States and one was in another country that I can't remember. Yeah, isn't that so that
Crazy.
gave me tingles when you said that about that because
Mm.
I was freaked out when I heard that first, and then I thought, "Okay, well,"
No,
and
it's
then you just have to go, "Okay,
beautiful.
universe,
Yeah,
thanks. Thanks, universe."
it's a universe piece, it's an energy piece. There's something there, isn't there?
It's mad
Most
though, isn't
definitely.
it?
Mm.
It's mad, but we'll
Oh.
we'll be grateful.
Okay.
What thanks for sharing that. What does your ideal day consist of? If you could have, like, your favorite day, what would it look like?
That's a really good question. Well, I'm like a sponge, I have to be honest with you. So for me, it's a day full of treats. So what are treats? Treats are definitely spa type pieces and spending time with my family, loved ones, and good friends. So it will be a combination. Maybe we'd hire like a venue or something, and have our own private spa piece going on. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. What do you feel like? Well, I'll have this, I'll have that. And my mum gets pampered, and my best friend gets pampered, and Bobby's there. He'd probably just eat, bless him. He wouldn't want the spa treatment. But yeah, it would just be spending time with my family, my loved ones, and then just doing a real treat, you know? Yeah.
Can I come as well, please? 'Cause that
Yes, you're
sounds lovely.
welcome. You are welcome. We'll need to organize it.
I'd love that. Okay, we're nearly there with the questions. If you had a roast dinner, would you eat your favorite thing first, your favorite thing last, or a little bit of everything together?
I'm a little bit of everything. I used to save it till the end, but when I was younger, but now I'm a little bit of everything.
Yeah, yeah, same. I'm the same. If you had to choose three people to join you for dinner, if they've passed or maybe they're alive, who would they be?
Gosh, that's a big one. Well, I definitely have my Uncle Freddie there because he was a producer at the BBC, Always News, and he was a Yorkshireman. He did really well. He got to London and everything, and he was just incredibly interesting, knowledgeable, opinionated, but in a fun way. Quite political. I like politics, so I had a good joust with him over, and he'd just be a great dinner guest, and I missed him terribly. I missed him terribly, I adored him. So Uncle Freddie would definitely be one. Um, who else would I have there? I'm gonna go with a guy called Mark Tully, who takes me back. Yeah, he's a guy, I worked for him, but he became a really good friend, and he was one of the most supportive people to me when I was starting out my career, which, I mean, I'm 50 now and I was operating in a world that was very male orientated. And I was this young, girl. So he was protective, but in a really positive way, not in a suffocating way. And he he had just great fun. He was a South Manchester lad done good. So, a little
Oh,
bit from the wrong side of the tracks, but incredibly, yeah, great fun, great giggle. Irish heritage, Karen, which says it all. He had a great personality, the Blarney was there. I adored him. I loved working for him. He became a very dear friend. So Mark, he's
oh,
still alive and kicking, but Mark would definitely be there. And he likes a little bit of a, so we have good fun.
I love it.
So who is my third? I'm not going with anybody famous because I use people who are in my life. So I
Yeah.
think I know I've talked about my dad, but my dad's pretty good fun.
No.
And yeah, good banter. So I think those would be my three. And
Right.
don't tell Bobby that he wasn't on
I
the
was just
list.
about to say Bobby's not going to be happy with that. He's
Oh dear.
he's eating in the spa. He's fine, or else I'm cooking for him. One or the other. What, what is your favorite song?
Unforgettable.
Oh, who sings
Wicked
that?
Cole.
Oh,
Traditional.
oh, I love
We had
that.
it at our wedding. I love old school music. I mean, I listen to new stuff as well, but I love like the 60s. I love big band music and I love Unforgettable. The words are beautiful and his voice is just like velvet.
Oh, I love
Yeah.
that. I love that. We're going to link it at the bottom of the podcast because that's a lovely one to do. Second last question is the book that you gift the most.
Well, this one is like a no-brainer. It's Mel, not Robbins.
I knew you were going to say
Because
that. Yeah.
yeah, I remember when you first spoke to me about this book and you said, Sarah, I'm thinking of this book and I'm thinking this book is right for you. That book has just changed my It's amazing, and, I've recommended it to so many people, and a lot of people at work. A good best friend from back home, I love that book. Yeah, it's just a complete opening of the mind and a change of approach, and it's incredibly empowering. And she uses, like, real life examples that you can really, it's not like reading, when you read these self-help books and it's a bit of a
It's all
churn, isn't
pie
it,
in the
sometimes?
sky.
Do you
Yeah.
know what I mean?
Yeah.
But she uses real examples, and it's the same technique, but using it in real life. So, yeah, that would be the book that I get. Well, it is the
I
book that
love
I gift the most, even.
it. So we're doing it in our phase two in our personal development book club, which I love. I love. So we get to drill down on those topics even more and
Amazing.
really give the real life examples and bring them into light. So that's brilliant. I'm so happy that you liked it. Sometimes when I recommend books into that, I'm like, I hope everyone likes them. But they're books that, have really made a difference for me. So and our
Oh,
clients as well.
yes.
Last question. How do you switch off?
I meditate a lot. Yeah, I even do it if I've had an intense meeting, I'll do it to get me to the right space. But if we're thinking of activities, then I like to get out and about. So, I live in a beautiful county. So I like to go walking with my dog. I like to go exploring country houses and, visiting beautiful places. I do a lot of that. Yeah, so
I love
it's just getting out really into the greenery. Even when the weather's rocky, you can wrap up, put a waterproof on. It's kind of therapy. So yeah.
it is. I
My
love seeing your pictures
meditation.
in the group. Yeah,
Yeah.
meditation and Bridgerton style house
Yes,
visits and garden
amazing,
visits.
amazing. Yeah.
Stunning.
We're thinking of going to Burton Pudsey tomorrow, but and this is the only but, the weather is gonna be real hot, and I don't really want to leave little Stanley, the dog. And if we
Oh,
take him, it's risky if he's gonna be too warm, so we might leave it till a cooler weekend.
bring a little, one of those little baby bats that he can have a little thingy around, or a
Someone
little
said,
water
yeah.
bottle spray.
Those coolers, yeah, they said you could put it around his crate. It's okay in the car, it's when he's out and about, and, you wanna walk and stuff. It's not really fair, is it, on a
Oh,
dog?
he's the most good-looking
Maybe for
dog,
another weekend.
Stanley. Yeah, I know. Yeah, the most gorgeous looking dog. He looks like a model dog.
He's a cutie.
Yeah, we do love Stanley. Sarah, thank you so much for joining us.
It's
Like
been
it has
so lovely
been,
talking. Thank you.
yeah, I'm so
We
glad that
could
we
have
got to
done
catch
another
up.
half hour, Karen.
I know we will. I hope you'll be joining the call later on, the group call in the program.
Yes,
And For
I'm telling
everybody that's
today.
listening, Sarah's story is such a powerful reminder that healing isn't always about doing more. It's about finally having the right support and the right tools and the permission to put yourself at the center of your life. And if you're listening and nodding along, I've been nodding along. I feel like I'm like Stanley the dog. I'm nodding along as Sarah's been talking through this whole thing. But if you're wondering whether change is possible for you, please hear this. You are not stuck. You are not broken and you are not alone. And if you're ready to take the next step, we'd love to support you inside the MS to Success programs. You're going to head to mstosuccess.com, book in a consultation and find out what's possible for you. And if you've loved this episode, don't forget to follow, leave a review, rate us, or share it with someone who needs a little hope today. And until next time, keep showing up, keep listening to your body, and keep talking healing to yourself. We'll see you next time. Thank you to our sponsors of this episode. You can visit getcleanboss.com/Karen. And also a thank you to our video and podcast producer and editor, Aoife McNamara at Imagine Media. Thank you.